So we're live with episode number 1 of Lou Pickney Plays Total Extreme Wrestling 2020. The game doesn't have background music to it, and so I've taken the liberty of putting the background music from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in the background just so there's something. That is one advantage with Fire Pro, and I guess I could get that music and play it on a loop, but that would be confusing. I hear enough as is playing that game. I'm not by any means giving up on Fire Pro or putting it to the side or whatever. It's just this is a new opportunity to try something a little different. Total Extreme Wrestling is very much a text-based series, more of a simulation slash chance to play as if you're actually running a real company, a pro wrestling company. And as a result, there are all sorts of options it opens up. There's a level of detail that goes into this that's really something. And for me, this type of wrestling game, I've been a fan of it going back to when I was in college, just like 1995, 1996, 1997 in there. A guy named Oliver Kopp over in Germany created this game, TNM. And you have to remember at the time, or maybe if you weren't around then you have to know that at the time, it wasn't like this sort of thing was just all over the place, especially for English-speaking people. Oliver had mentioned to me that there were some German soccer league type games that existed for it, but you know, there I was lucky to barely speak English, you know, and meanwhile, you know, it's Oliver has considerably more range on his language, just not the fact he can speak German and English, but this is along those lines, but you get really in depth as far as running a company goes. Now there is a default group that I guess group isn't the term. There's this it's called the Cornellverse. They're characters, wrestlers, managers, etc. that are make-believe but are within their own world. But part of the appeal of TEW is the customization options. Pardon me. I mean, just a wide range. You can talk about scenarios. Think about like with the passing of Joe Pedicino not too long ago. Like you can have a situation, a simulator where you go into the game with it set up as if he really had the 15 million from the Nigerian 419 scam. Or if you want to play 1992, right as Ric Flair wins the 1992 Royal Rumble and the WWF Championship, it's as far back as you want to go. You know, your imagination is really the limit. Now, because this game has just now come out, it's been in development for a while, obviously, and there's been a demo out, but there's still work being done by people that can and will create some really impressive things with this game. And again, that's your only limit is what you can imagine or what you can see from other people that you think might make for some interesting scenarios. Now this one, Gary Wooder's the guy that created it, so I'll use him as my avatar, as it were. There's a mod that I was playing on TEW 2016 called the Thunderverse. That's real fun with that. It's, again, that's much like the Cornellverse. It's characters strictly made up, but it's really good. It was a lot of fun. I'm sure at some point I'll get back to that as well. But with this, my idea with this is that, because I've been thinking about it, like, what can I do that will make this viable, where I'll want to do it, and it will hopefully be compelling enough that people would actually be interested in seeing it. So I'm using a real-life, modern-day mod, the Killing the Business mod. That's what Gary came up with here, and it's more or less the modern-day pro wrestling world. My plan is to play as All Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, if you don't know much about All Japan Pro Wrestling, if you're more of an American wrestling fan, or if you don't know wrestling that well, it's the nice thing with this game, it doesn't really matter what you know coming in. It's easy enough to pick up on it. But All Japan is a tradition-rich promotion that had their 1990s main event matches at Budokan Hall in front of 18,000 people or however many. I mean, those matches hold up 25 years later, plus. Like that Misawa versus Kawada match, that was like the first one I saw from All Japan that was like, whoa, this is really something special. I've been reading about it in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. I started subscribing to that when I was 15 years old. Heard about it, I think, through somebody on the Prodigy. I think like predating what you think of with the internet now. You have these like, the AOL, of course, is the big one. You had Prodigy, CompuServe, others, and the own little self-contained worlds. With Prodigy, you got 30 messages you could send for 30 days, essentially. So you got like, if you went over just like emailing somebody, now you wouldn't think twice about it, but on there were limits. But that's probably neither here nor there, because ultimately what happened was I got the information to sign up for the Observer, and man, what an education. Dave Meltzer, he has just had a phenomenal career in a business that almost nobody respects, and in a world that draws in the unsavory and the perhaps darker. So people that are so willing to make these incredible personal sacrifices, physically putting themselves through damage and just night after night after night of keeping your spot, staying on the road if you're working hurt, knowing that you'll probably be waking up every day for the rest of your life in pain. That's the sacrifice some people are willing to make, and the talent some of the people in the business have is just phenomenal. It seems like Will Ospreay, what he can do is just, it's really something. And I've seen it in person with Ospreay at the Pontchartrain Center in Kenner, just next to New Orleans, around WrestleMania 34 weekend, a little more than 2 years ago. Matt Riddle and Will Ospreay, and they did a fake injury angle, and it was pulled off so well that at first, like, whoa, you know, and then it ends up that everything's okay. But although after being there ringside at the Cow Palace and seeing Hiromu Takahashi break his neck, I really don't, I don't like that kind of emotional manipulation. I think if somebody's legitimately injured. But point being is that in this case it worked, because Ospreay and Riddle are both amazing wrestlers, and they're in ring. They can make you believe in what they're doing, so you get drawn in. But what I was saying though, that Misawa Kawada match, kind of comp tape, get like a 6-hour VHS tape, so the quality's not that good to begin with. Like, I think EP quality, not standard play or long play. Long play was 4 hours, standard play was 2 hours. If you wonder why some of those older WWF and WCW pay-per-views were relatively short compared to the marathons of today, in parts because you had to make a show that would fit on a videotape, where you couldn't use like the lower quality because they're commercial tapes. So the format's somewhat limited. And then you get things like the Survivor Series where they had all the tag teams in there, and like they cut out one of the teams being eliminated. Like the British Bulldogs just disappeared midway through because they had to make room because there was only so much space they could put on a videotape. And as antiquated as that sounds today, it was just the reality back then. But anyway, so point being, it was a hassle. It was a major hassle. You had to like know things and know people to get these tapes, but then it was worth it, because it was just, especially because of the doldrums that the North American, really the United States scene in particular was in. Just brutal. 1994 WWF is horrible for the most part. A lot of it's just awful. I mean, granted, look, I mean, Vince McMahon was in the midst of a federal criminal trial. That guy's so stubborn and crazy that he fought the feds. You almost never hear somebody beating the feds, and he did. Anyway, point being, after that, I was hooked on those All Japan main events, and some I got to see through comp trades or whatever, that, you know, tapes I acquired, and others I didn't catch until years later. That's where YouTube is so nice, because you've got All Japan, like, because a lot of the stuff, not the modern day All Japan, but the stuff going back to the 90s, there's no real clear ownership on the rights, so there's no way to follow any sort of takedown notice. And so it's basically every great, you can go through on like cagematch.net and look up every match that Dave Meltzer gave 4.5 stars or more, or that the Cage Match readers voted at the higher levels. Just amazing. I mean, granted, these were brutally physical matches, and the guys took a tremendous toll. I mean, you can't hold up something like that forever, but it makes for fascinating viewing now just as it did then. So it's with that in mind, like I could play as New Japan, and I love New Japan. New Japan Pro Wrestling, tremendous. But I'm taking this from a little bit of a different angle. Saying, okay, what would happen in the impossible scenario that All Japan Pro Wrestling would say, all right, Lou, we need to get things kick-started here. We know you know American wrestling, and you know enough about Japanese wrestling to get us going. Let's do it. That kind of idea, which is just not going to happen for many reasons. But that's the... this one is different. The... what is that, Rogelia? De La Vega? Rogelio? Aren't any pronouncers on these? Although, when I'm doing sports broadcasts, it's not like the roster has pronouncers either, so you just do your best. So that wasn't... in this version of the Killing the Business mod, I just tested it out just a little bit on the demo version. I don't think she was in there. But I'll stick with Gary Woodard. Or Wooder, excuse me. Get the name right. I think I made it. Want to botch the name. Gary Wooder. And so, I mean, I could probably create my own avatar or whatever, but I'm just going to, my idea is to go through this particular mod and stick with what they have as much as possible. Most of the default things I kept as is. One thing I always change is the wrestlers getting mad if they're left off the card, because it gets really complicated if you're going to book just like a spot show somewhere. You know, having wrestlers that were mad because you didn't book them at a 500-seat building where you didn't have any of your A talent there because you're just trying to, you know, do it as a one-off in a smaller market, that sort of thing. So that's about the only thing I could think of offhand that I change. I think the dirt sheets information being turned on, I think it was a default with this because I know I set it up for sure with a demo, and maybe that just copied over. I'm not sure. So that would be the other change, that because it gives you a little more insight as far as like things you wouldn't necessarily really know, like, you know, if somehow somebody's morale might have affected the match, or how, you know, there's chemistry, because that's a very subjective thing, kind of tough to pin down. So, the way this starts is, well, let's see how this starts. Plays this character. Okay, this is a lockup for me or what? There's no good reason this would have locked up on me. Got it set up where... okay. Now why I had to hold control and hit the space bar, I don't know, but... right here is where you set up 30 points. You have 6 categories, and you can spread the traits out as you wish. You have a baseline of at least 2 for each one. Or at least for me, you don't have to. I mean, if you have 0 diplomacy, then feel free. I went through this before, but it's good that it didn't save that part, because it's easier to get it going with this. So you can see what I'm going through here at the very beginning. Just of the 6, I'm least interested in the creativity. I mean, you obviously having creativity is a good thing, but when you've got a finite amount of traits to spread around, and the difference is negotiating a better contract or talking somebody into doing a job that doesn't want to, the silver tongue. You'll notice the color changes as it advances. or as you increase the given category. I'm not going to go with 4 for the creative. Another reason I picked All Japan is because that's pretty close to the pro wrestling I really like, where you don't have the contrived good guys on one side, bad guys on the other. As much as it sounds like with that Vince McMahon speech about the good guys and bad guys. And then didn't actually change anything. But athletic style, series presentation, that is what I prefer out of a pro wrestling product. Which is why 1994 WCW, as uncompelling as it was, so, all right, you got some major stars there and all the people that I know from the past, but here I am getting this fast forwarding to 3.5 hours into a 6-hour comp tape to find the latest Kobashi match. But it was worth it. And that's where I don't take things like live streaming video for granted, because it was out of the question. Unless there would be something where WCW would have had a live pay-per-view from Japan, but, and boy, did they squander that relationship. Opportunities there that could have been. Definitely think it's a good thing to have some sort of music in the background with this, because the game itself doesn't have any. I hope it doesn't ding me for having anything with from the music side of things with Twitch, but if it does, then that's a learning experience for me. I was going to put on some Tampa breakbeat, like circa 2002, 2003, early mid-20s. Crazy 5 years I spent in Ybor City. So much fun. But it was distracting enough, I thought, yeah, I think I'm going to go with it for now. Well, so I could go, well, I wanted the diplomacy. Makes a good combo. Placate him and then talk him into what you want him to do, and then hopefully win him over. Leadership, you got to pick some categories. Motivation, I'll feel more for the motivating. Particularly in what will be a work rate heavy promotion for me. Okay, that's strange because it took that screen, took the user talents thing down. No, what is this? Oh, okay. So, let's see. Unused user characters. There are unused user characters in the database. I don't want to remove them. Why would I remove them? No, I like it when the game has more options. I like it when they're like, that's part of the appeal to me with the Thunderverse compared to the Cornellverse, just because there's a wider range. And that's not to knock the Cornellverse. I mean, that's fun too. So I don't want to remove them from the game world. I hope that's not what I thought I'd hit. All right, what am I missing here? I've got a script running that's keeping this as this game window on top. You'd think there would be an easy way in Windows 10 that you could just have something be default as your, on top at all times thing, but there doesn't seem to be. But now, oh, come on. So that control and space bar, which I'm hoping would take this out of the mode where it would keep it on top permanently, just so I can figure out why it's not wanting to cooperate. Or why it keeps asking me if I want to get rid of these unused user characters. No, I want to get rid of them. I want to kill. It's like asking you like the reverse question. Would you like to keep them? Yes, keep them. Did I say that before? Okay, there we go. I'm at a loss why I did it that way, but so here are the choices from the. Okay, this is a rib now. It's not going to be the most captivating live feed if I got to worry about this thing locking up on me. I mean, it's one thing for Super Mega Baseball 3 to not work right on my computer, which it didn't. But that's on me. I don't have, I guess, the proper graphics card to handle it. But Steam gave me a refund on that, and then I bought it on the PlayStation 4. It is so much fun on the PS4. I may stream some of that later as well, although that's going to be... I've never streamed to Twitch from my PS4, and I'm not sure what is and isn't possible with that. Now, why would I have to control space to get some sort of a reaction from this? One thing I did not like with this demo when I was going through it, when you're actually trying to get something to open up or to click on the screen to... The user interface I found from 2016 actually was preferable in some ways. Just because it's a lot more intuitive. You don't have to, like... I was able to click on things in the old game and have them work properly. Well, okay, I'll pick... Okay, yeah. If I've got to, like, control space every time, we're going to have a problem here. How I'm getting, like, full hot on it, but just agitating. Of course, AEW. I love AEW. What a phenomenal job Tony Khan has done. They got a challenge 1 week from tonight. Convince people to buy a pay-per-view in the midst of a pandemic. It will be a mostly empty arena. But I plan on ordering it. Should be a lot of fun. The very unfortunate reality of the pandemic has forced creativity in some different ways for people. What's that saying about necessity being the mother of invention? I'll get back to All Japan in a second. CMLL. They've got some tremendous talent in CMLL. Who's on the roster for Game Changer? They have some really clever videos they've done in the last couple of years. Joey Janela, the one with the missing posters for all the people that had signed in NXT and then disappeared off the indie scene. My description there did it no justice. It was very well done. Impact. They really should have rebranded to something else. I know that they ran it, like the window to do that, it was the strangest thing, collided with the unfortunate brief run that they had with Jeff Jarrett. And they were going to make the company name Global Force. And then that didn't happen, and so they're kind of just Impact still. There's some talented people that work there, and it's very difficult right now. It's not like, especially with WWE having signed up so many people, just trying to put the squeeze on everyone creates a challenge. But Don Callis is super sharp, and I figure if anybody can find a way creatively to get things turned around there, it's him. And Scott D'Amore, I tend to connect him with the best times in TNA. It's like you could tell, like, because a lot of weird things happen in TNA. Well, I really enjoy watching AAA, just because you never know, it's going to be just some horribly badly botched spot, and then something just breathtakingly spectacular to see, and then these crazy characters and all that are yet captivating at the same time. A certain charm to it, in its own kind of crazy, unpredictable sort of way. MLW. See, timing is everything. It was a really tough break for Court Bauer and that group that, right as they were starting to ramp up towards launching on BN Sports, you had ITV over in the UK, and they were going to bring back World of Sport, and that really freaked out WWE. And so, as much as WWE had already been just stockpiling wrestlers in Orlando, warehousing them, as you might hear it referred to, they just picked up the pace that much more. Suddenly, guys that they didn't touch for years and years because they thought it would be a liability, guys like Kurt Angle or the Hardys, suddenly they changed their mind on some of them. And then you saw what they did with them squandered / wasted, intentionally or otherwise, those guys. But it's more than just that. I mean, you had guys like Matt Riddle was there. He's already gone, though, by the time they had their actual launch on television. They did a couple of pay-per-views with him. They had some talent there. Filthy Tom's hilarious. That dude's... I would definitely do what Court's doing with Filthy if I were in his position. NWA. I know a couple of people that are involved with that. Wish them the best. These are tough times. And they had Cornette, which was part of the appeal of the show. Jim Cornette. It's unfortunate, though, that... I don't know if Jim even really wanted to do it after a while. It's almost like... I think he intentionally, at times, would provoke people just to... as an out. Maybe not. It's tough, though. It's tough to, use what Jim says about that are positive things to make an argument, because of so much of what he says that ends up being just horribly negative or outright wrong, or just something that I don't agree with necessarily. I mean, he's intelligent, but and look, I know how it is to fly off the handle. I get that. It's a gimmick too. I mean, but he was perfect with that show, because ultimately, one thing that Jim and I see very much the same way is preferring a serious presentation of the wrestling product. That's what people never got about the Memphis territory. They wanted to goof on it. Yes, they had some ridiculous gimmicks. Yes, they were running on a shoestring budget, and it looked silly at times as a result. But there were two key things with Memphis wrestling. The championships were incredibly important, and the feuds were deadly serious. You can have comedy in the right place on a card, the right people involved, and it can be really, really good. But ultimately, you've got to legitimately care about who's going to win a match, and you don't get that nearly as much with the clown / entertainer type role, usually. New Japan, probably my favorite promotion on the planet. Hang in there, guys. PWG, I was just thinking about this earlier. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess with the pandemic and things locked down, they're on a hiatus for now. Because you got Excalibur, who of course is doing color commentary on AEW Dynamite. Progress, I got to see them when they ran a show in Orlando over WrestleMania 33 weekend. I know the American way, the word is pronounced as progress, like it's P-R-A-W. But hearing the guys talking with the guys with the company, and they called it progress. So I'm good with that too. Not easy for the UK promotions. The whole NXT UK thing, or Europe for that matter either. That promotion where A-Kid had a couple of those really, really phenomenal matches. But it will be, as it always is in pro wrestling, cyclical, and there'll be more opportunities for more companies on down the line. Pro Wrestling Noah, interesting position for them right now, just because they have relatively new ownership. They got rid of the green mat that was because of the connections with Mitsuharu Misawa. That promotion started 20 years ago after the exodus from All Japan, after Giant Baba's widow. It's one thing when you got when Baba was alive, because she was the bad cop. But I mean, look, any well-run company's gonna have your. That's like, with wrestlers that leave WWE that would complain about John Laurinaitis or Jim Ross or whoever was stuck with the unfortunate task of talent relations, because they were the ones taking the heat, because Vince, as a coward deep down inside, ultimately doesn't like that sort of thing, or at least that's my opinion. But he still makes it his gimmick to say you're fired, and let's just say he's not the only prominent person who reflects that. Love Rev Pro. They don't get nearly enough credit, I think, for what they do beyond just the connection with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it's tough. I mean, like I said, it's tough for everybody over there. Or right now, everybody, period. No matter where you are, just because of the horrible pandemic that... And it's starting to reach the point. I thought this was going to happen sooner. I never thought people would go along with this. Shutting everything down like they have. I don't know how people are getting by. I mean, I'm lucky because of what I do. I don't spend a whole lot of money if I don't have to. I try my best not to. And I don't have nearly the financial obligations and responsibilities that a lot of other people have. All my friends that are paying alimony or had to sell their house to pay a divorce lawyer. People with kids in school and activities, and you gotta buy groceries, you still gotta pay the bill. You know, and the banks aren't gonna say, hey, you know, as long as this pandemic's going on, don't have to pay. It's not the way it works. Ring of Honor. I've compared what happened with Ring of Honor last year to Maury in Goodfellas, because Maury's the one that helped set up the bank heist, the airport bank heist. That he thought he'd get an advance on the money they were going to steal, and they kept putting him off and putting him off. But as they were getting closer and closer to the actual date of the hold up, the theft, it was like more, we keep putting on the pressure more and more. And I thought of that with the Madison Square Garden show. Ring of Honor with the audacity to say that Okada winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship shouldn't be the main event, but instead a three-way ladder match. And then they had as a work shoot that they didn't smarten up New Japan about. You had Enzo and Big Cash show up. I'm conflicted because I can't talk about their parent company. I mean, I really can't. But there are people that have lamented that Ring of Honor doesn't have a larger budget, but I think in many ways that's actually been a blessing for them, because if there's big money going in, you better believe they would need to be big money coming out of it to make it work. And that was even before the pandemic. Just in general, it's like, be careful what you wish for with that. You know, that's, you get those budgets get larger and larger, and then that revenue falls. It's gonna be tough. Warrior Wrestling. Okay, there's something going on there, and I don't know exactly what. I've tried to do the math and figure it out. It's a fundraiser that they have at a school in Chicago Heights, as they're on the screen. And it's basically like a fundraiser, a scholarship thing for the school. But they bring in some top name guys. I think Minoru Suzuki against Filthy Tom Lawler on the show that I ordered on Fight TV, through the Fight app. And I know their ringside tickets, I think front row, it's pricey. And it's not like an every week promotion. It's it's whenever they book their next card. So there's not that typical thing. But I still think I don't really understand. And I'm not trying to like put heat on them. I'm happy if that's a way that they can help raise money for scholarships to help people gain education. That's a wonderful thing. Stardom. A lot of talent there. Now, why is Jushin Liger listed there? I mean, I know that Liger's retired now. I guess he can work wherever he wants. But Stardom's a women's promotion. Although just having Liger there to like hang out and take pictures and sign autographs whenever that sort of behavior will become normal again. WWE. I ranted at length the other night about WWE and its broken creative system and its completely disconnected developmental system. That was on episode 8 of Lou Plays Fire Pro Wrestling World. We even had a little time code on there and everything. All right, so enough of the preamble there. Let's see this actually work for me. Do I have to control space and then have it like do something? Okay, I'll at least got off the screen. Let's see if this will work. There we go. All right, I'll just try not to click on the OBS Studio gimmick to have that not pop up. And if it does, then oh well. I typically prefer to play as the owner. Same time, part of my idea with doing this as a live stream, long-form broadcast experience is to perhaps try some things that make it go a little bit faster from a month-to-month basis, but also throw in some wrinkles that I wouldn't normally encounter. So for the purposes of this, sorry to Ishikawa, but see, am I taking the Booker spot or I'm taking the CEO spot from Jun Akiyama? Kento Miyahara. I felt, and I voted for him in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. I voted Akiyama, or excuse me, Akiyama, look at his name right below it, Kento Miyahara as the MVP for Japan. As great and as impressive as everyone from Okada to Ospreay, Naito, Shingo. You take any one of those guys out, and yes, it would hurt New Japan, but not like what would happen if you took away Kento Miyahara from All Japan Pro Wrestling. Take him out of the mix and go back and look at 2019, and you tell me where to be at. Think about when Shinsuke Nakamura left for the WWE opportunities for him in the U.S. One of the top stars, when they're like guys they were building around their 4 top level guys, and they were able to adjust and keep going. It hurt to lose them, but they were able to make it work. And ultimately, if you have a few guys that leave like that, it opens up space on a roster. They wouldn't want to bump Nakamura down to, hanging out with Nakanishi in the opener every night. But if Nakamura is still there, then that's the spot that's not there for Shingo, or for Ospreay, or for whoever else you want to go with on that. So, I'm still tempted to play as owner, though. No, you know what? Plays the Booker. See how this works. Which means I've got to follow what they tell me to do with certain things. I don't like that in real life. Typically, unless there's a good reason for it. You convince me there's a good reason for something, and I'll go along with it. You can see my little... Because I don't have this as a locked on the full screen gimmick. I'm trying to save a little notepad file here. It's going to give away all the goods. Talk about exposing the business. All right, so playing as Gary Wooder, who... And I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. I presume I am, but... I've learned with names in many years of sports broadcasting, sometimes just because you think it's going to sound that way, it doesn't. But Gary Wooder, who created this, I'm using him as my avatar. And then All Japan Pro Wrestling is the company. I don't know if there were logos that were going to come with this that I just didn't install properly or what, but... Typically what you have with it, try and explain things for people that maybe have never played the series and are just curious about it. But typically there's a main page you're going to have. I think, of course, back to the last version of this that came out, TEW 2016. It's kind of like after a show, after you advance to the next day, you're going to have like this is the articles, and that'll let you see if there's jobs that are open up, guys that are disappointed, people that are going to go take a hiatus because they're going to fight an MMA match or go shoot a movie, that sort of thing. That's how it is for New Japan. They got some guys that are making some pretty good coin. And they don't have the kind of television deals that WWE or AEW have. And you'll have these articles or something that'll kind of nudge you in the direction of somebody as far as someone to consider they want to pick up or just to learn about. Like if you're playing and you're an American promotion, there's somebody over in Europe that is only working in Europe at the moment, at least gives you a chance to say, oh, that's so-and-so, okay. Carmella getting over. At least with this, because it's real people, real wrestlers and all. Hopefully this will make for a more compelling thing than using the universe of the pre-created characters that aren't actually based on real people. Okay, so I think 2. I have the Cultaholic one. What other thing I can change? No offense to Cultaholic, but I know there's an Observer one. That's the one I was wanting. Just one with these images here on the left side, what they all represent. I think some of this is new for the 2020 game as far as the way they've got it configured. I was thinking about something. It was 20 years ago. 20 years ago when my buddy Hagai, who I knew from being up at summer camp at Western Kentucky University, WKU, in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And he was the lifeline, the phone-a-friend, when a guy that was on his Quiz Bowl team at the University of Michigan for the $1 million question. So Paddington Bear. And they had a bunch of people in the room, but they kind of, it's like, look, I worked in television for a long time, and I can tell you a lot of it at times is a work as far as with how they present things. They want you to see it a certain way, but it was kind of like a guy had to kind of pretend it was just him there when they had like a room full of people. And somebody, I think it was like someone's girlfriend that just happened to be there, wasn't even like, part of this Quiz Bowl team, that I knew about him. Whatever the detail, what country he's from or whatever. That music made me think back to that. And, wow, 20 years. For me, it's like when 2000 hit, it's like the clock kind of stopped as far as the way it feels where time advances. In some ways, it's like I blink and a month has gone by. And then others, it feels like what was really 20 years ago was like 6 months ago. But that's just not the case. All right. So this will be a learning experience for me as well, because I don't know where some of these little subcategories are going to take me. I guess I'll find out what the product. Kings Road, the description. We typically hear associated with All Japan Pro Wrestling. Part of why I picked was that no face and heel divide. They do have your junior heavyweights, and that's fine. I don't mind having that. My preference, though, is like if you're going to have a secondary championship, it should be something that's not just anybody can challenge for it, because otherwise, what's the point? I understand the Intercontinental Championship in WWE, but you got also the U.S. champion. You got so many belts there. But if it's the whereas you have a junior heavyweights, it's going to be presented as serious wrestlers, not just guys that can get squashed in a minute and a half when there's the tall wrestler of the week that Vince wants to give the big monster push to on Raw. And as a result, it actually draws money because they're taken seriously. That's how it works in a lot of places. Okay, so this is my kind of promotion. 100% matches for both events and TV shows. It's a positive that it's more towards the in-ring than overall popularity as far as how matches are rated. Someone who's more popular but older and less able to work, I mean, it's not going to be, if somebody's truly like that popular where it's worth bringing them in, it's not going to be cheap. So we have less pressure to do something like that. Although the way I normally play this game, I end up bringing in a lot of different people. Fans will be upset by dangerous, controversial, or bloody match types. Matches, I've got some clever stuff in here. Matches are not clever, just interesting, amusing. Matches less than 20 minutes will not be able to achieve world-class scores. I wonder if that, is that like 85 and above? 90 and above? 80? Overbooked matches will infuriate the fans. Fans expect clean finishes to matches and will be upset with anything else. High spot matches, severely penalized. Eye candy matches, severely penalized. And I could go in there and change the product base if I wanted to, but playing this as the booker, not the owner, so I'm going to do what the owner wants. Just make sure I picked a place where that lined up with what I wanted to do as well. No managers, and that's fine. Don't have to worry about too many promos with 100% matches. Now, what is 3-ring circus? I don't know what that means. That's like that's new for this game. At least I think it is. If it was an older game, I don't remember it. I guess we'll stick with the 3-ring circus. I'll have to look that up. I'm sure they have it on the Grey Dog software message board. Somebody can give me the Iggy on 3-ring circus as the match focus. X out of this. I need to save it because I didn't change anything. That's the news. I was going to change the skin for this particular page. There were a couple of skins that I had downloaded, and so I don't remember offhand which one. Oh, if it has Cultaholic, I can get the Observer one. And again, no offense to Cultaholic, it's just this is trying to demonstrate what you can do to customize it. So here's the settings. I haven't messed with this page at all. I will turn off the Kenny deaths. And I know that can be funny at times as far as some of the craziness, but I mean, look, when I was working in the TV news business, I had to write enough stories about pro wrestlers who had died, and of course just reading about it in the Observer and knowing about it. I don't know. It's tough for me to find humor in something that's connected to something that is so grim and has been so prevalent, unfortunately, in that business. Gotta have your dirty tricks. Now, why would you disable chemistry effects? That's where, like, if you really gel with somebody, you can have a better match in theory. Somebody that, whereas if you and another person are on different pages, it can be a lot tougher. Rating unit. I'm not sure what some of this stuff means. I mean, I understand the concept of a rating unit or in television, but what it means relative to this, I just don't know. Turn to database. Oh, okay. So, like, if I were to play this out for a year, I guess I could have a... I guess that's... You create your own database and I guess send it out or share it with people, presuming that the original creator's okay with it. You'll get their blessing. Now, is this like IMDb? Or is this like a... let's see. Oh, okay, access database. I was actually getting to programming stuff. Look, I'm barely able to figure some of this stuff out as far as the tech side goes. I mean, I taught myself how to create a web page in 1995 by looking at the source code for other websites, so I know some stuff, but start getting into a lot of the stat-based compilation of data stuff. That just, as much as I can analyze stats, when it comes to actually compiling them, that is not my strong suit, I think it's fair to say. Take a look at the roster. I like the little thing where it says wrestler. The image. Well, I presume most of them be wrestler, if not referee or something to that effect. I'm sure there's a photo pack. I thought I had that before, but that was like a different version of the killing the business mod. That's what I was looking for there. It's interesting to see it's a range. It's not just a set number in some cases, which is actually more accurate, I would think. Oh, there we go. You for Dory Funk Jr. Personality and Road Agent. Okay, so this is me playing as Gary Wooder. Okay, I'll do, much like I would in real life, I'll do my own play-by-play. Let's see. There will be a learning curve to this for me just because I'm used to things being in different places with some of these categories. And there's some new things that I don't have figured out yet because this is my first time. You're getting to see it like I am here. So I want to make him an announcer. It's very easy to do that in 2016. If I could walk up to him like, how would you feel about taking a stunt bump? I like the little sidebar note there. Gary Wooder is not known to currently be taking steroids. That's interesting. I guess that's a different way for them to approach it for 2020. And, you know, there's going to be a natural resistance to change initially. There always is. But I certainly appreciate that over the uninspired retread WWE 2K series. Oh, that breaks down the health into more than just some sort of nebulous, sort of healthier. You need a couple of days to be back to full strength. But it has it by body part. Lifestyle. Okay, this is not what I was looking for here. Although it's interesting to see some of that. I'm trying to put where I'll be. Let's see. Well, announcer, that's what I wanted him to be. I guess it wouldn't be anything for the chemistry since I just started this game. I'm just trying to put him in there as the announcer, making sure that's no question about it. I mean, he never wrestles. Well, I'll get back to that later, I guess. We'll check on that in a bit. One thing I do like here is that I can tell you the popularity and the skills and not have to toggle back and forth. I mean, it wasn't that tough to do it, but this makes it easier at a glance to say, okay. And it's got the news headlines there where you don't have to click through for that either. It's a larger box, this square, than what they've had prior. Jake Lee. A couple of really good matches with Miyahara. Joe Doring's worked there for a while, and I don't know enough about his backstory on how he got there. I think guys like Joe Doring or Joel Redman, I'll read about him in The Observer and I'll see him in a video game. But I don't know as much about them that I might with somebody from another company, like the guys in New Japan. There's Miyahara. A lot of green, that's a good thing, as you can tell. Okay, that's a hassle. I have to drag this little mouse cursor. I can just go. I mean, I want to go a full page down to cycle through, unless I need to just do it like. Okay, it's got the contract details. Handshake deal. Ooh, I don't like that. You know, they really need to make this clear. Click here. I mean, I guess that makes it obvious, but it makes you think like there maybe there's supposed to be like a box below it or something. You don't want to release him. Do not release Kento Miyahara. I don't care if you're playing on easy mode. Don't do it. Anyway. A lot of potential for the long term with Nomura. He had a really good match with Miyahara last year. It might have been my favorite Miyahara match. I think it was September. I had All Japan streaming site for January. I got that because they had a couple of those big shows to start off the year at Corgan before the Wrestle Kingdom 2 nights at Tokyo Dome for New Japan. That was a little more than 4 months ago, but it might as well be 4 years the way it feels now. I mean, things have changed. I'm not going to go through the whole list in too much depth at the moment. I want to actually get this started. So what happens to me when I play this game in real life, falling down a hole. You look up and realize 5 hours has passed by, whatever. And I wish I was kidding on that. Suwama. It's interesting with All Japan in real life how where things shut down initially, then they came back, they had one show with fans, and that's where Suwama beat Kento Miyahara to win the Triple Crown. If they hadn't been able to do that show, I imagine Miyahara would still be the champ, and he would have broken Kawada's mark for the second longest all time as far as an individual one championship reign goes. I mean, Miyahara doesn't need that to validate himself or anything. It's just interesting how that worked out. The Bodyguard. I can't goof on that too much. We have like The Undertaker, which is kind of some amusing differences. Then Yoshitatsu. The Long Beach Convention Center shows that New Japan Pro Wrestling had in early July 2017. They brought Yoshi to those shows and have him. It was like the anti-Bullet Club, the Bullet Club Hunter group, and it did not get over. I think it's safe to say, and it didn't really work out for Yoshitatsu and New Japan, but he went to All Japan. He's managed to make himself, or position himself into a pretty good spot there. And with Japanese wrestling, you don't see the jumping back and forth like it's the Monday Night Wars, but sometimes for guys, a new change of scenery can be a positive thing from a career standpoint. All right. There's Zeus. Not the actor, not the guy from No Holds Barred. Not the guy from Jackie Brown that hangs out with Max Cherry sometimes. So not just a star-laden roster, but some solid workers. You got Miyahara, of course, is the ace. Debacle is okay. I don't want to say. I didn't change the settings. That X is not going to kill me out of the game, is it? I guess we'll find out. No. Or just jump over here and do it this way. Oh, the bright red is not a good sign typically. Like to have the minimum number of wrestlers to have, the minimum that would help you to avoid getting penalized for looking amateurish. All right. So warning. AJPW are currently eligible for a penalty at each show for production values, as at least one rival is using a higher level. It was like circa 1993 watching Saturday morning, early afternoon, Nashville television, Channel 30. You'd have like the USWA show on a 1 week delay. They got it live in Memphis, a 90-minute version. And we got it on a 1 week delay as a 60-minute version here in Nashville. But the amount of time of the show and the delay didn't matter. The production quality, of course, as bad as, oh, the music ran out. Just hit reset there. Somebody's kind enough to put this on YouTube where it would loop for an hour. Low level required by one broadcast partner. Okay, let's get on this. Yeah, we're gonna upgrade. So high quality is above professional? Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Or maybe that's what that meant for high quality, like I needed to reach that level, and that's what that meant. But I'm not sure. All right, well, hopefully it made the red text go away, and it did. Season finale. I know we're getting to the end of May sweeps, but that's not what I have in mind. I don't know what the owner goals are. Okay, I'm sure I'll be told. Look at Jun Akiyama putting me over. I hope that if I'm able to get the photos in here for this database, that they'll show up and won't be just sans photos. It's creative. And this is something that's similar to what they've been in previous iterations of this game. Those are your key people there, of course. Miyahara. Yoshida. I think Yoshida's got a bright future. We'll see. Like in real life. Just like in the hint on guys in the undercard you might want to be thinking of for the long term to advance. Promos, I mean, it's good that Miyahara can handle a crowd, but that doesn't really matter here. Kai, very good. Tajiri, you should know if you watched much at all as far as the sort of mainstream pro wrestling went in the late 90s. Or if you went back and watched it later. Look at Tajiri get named as the ring general. I think it's an insult to a Nakajima to call him a hidden gem. Go back to that G1 he was in a few years back in New Japan when they had that Pro Wrestling Noah versus New Japan feud. That got some like legitimate heat. Like the kind of heat you don't normally hear at pro wrestling shows anywhere anymore, especially in Japan. But to finish the point I was making on Yoshitatsu, the fact that the fans that were so respectful and were trying to do everything they could to make that show, those two shows, be great at the Long Beach Convention Center about 3 years ago. That was the weekend Alex Marvez introduced Tony Khan to Jim Ross. I was there as well, but I did not meet Jim Ross. I met him before. I've already had my interactions with him through the years. Phenomenal talent. Like, go back to 1992 WCW and that sports style Jim Ross. That to me is just awesome. All right. This is going to get old real quick with the lack of photos. If I can't get that fixed. Is Filthy Tom really under a handshake deal? I have to ask him that. I think anybody of any import in the current U.S. pro wrestling scene is on some sort of a handshake deal. Now we have the unscrupulous market leader there, ready to pounce. What is it? Let's say 10 bold. Oh, okay, that's the name of a television outlet. This part's similar to what they had in 2016. Will negotiate means they have at least a willingness to talk with you potentially about bringing you on. That's going to make a lot of those listings there disappear right now, as I mentioned. So I already got television in Japan, although, well, let's see. Oh, it's the coverage area. Okay. See, when I click up, I don't want it to go just one at a time. If I want to go one at a time, I'd hit that part. Yeah, they're going to have to fix this little menu thing here, because that's going to get old fast. I'm going to start complaining about it. I don't want to bury the game. I know they put a ton of work in on it, and it should be a lot of fun to play, but that's a downgrade from 2016. But I'm sure they'll get it figured out. Or they won't, and I'll find something else to do. So let's see, what do I have right now? Your coverage, that's what I should pull up here. Look at India listed. How many shows do I have? I knew in 2016 I could find it blink of an eye. All right, where's my listing of shows? The coverage, already saw that. Let's see, events and TV. It is a little different with All Japan here versus what I typically do with a promotion, like with the Thunderverse, where I just started my own promotion because I tried to change. I tried to take over one of the others and change what they did to fit what I wanted, and they wouldn't let me do that. So I said, okay, I'll do it myself then. So I guess they're listed as events. So we're in week 1. I mean, this is just stupid. One at a time, really? What's the point of having the little arrow in there if it does the exact same thing if you hit the bar? I don't... They should have had this figured out in beta. I gotta say, it's get on tilt about it. Oh, what's this blue thing? That was coming up next? Oh, this pulls up the info about it. All right, so I guess there's. Well, it's Monday, week 1 of 2020. Well, I guess I get abruptly thrown into that. So there's an All Japan TV show. Is there just the one show? Where's the information on that? Okay, everybody I'm planning to use is should be available. There's one negative with starting your own company, at least with the 2016 one for the Thunderverse. Small enough where nobody wanted to sign a contract, and so you end up having the PPA, or the prices per appearance. Okay, get off the screen. Got enough belts? I mean, the Carnival is a champion carnival. It's an annual thing, it's not a traveling trophy belt. The Shadow of Yoshitatsu. Now, I don't know that much about some of these secondary titles in All Japan Pro Wrestling, I must admit. So some of these are tournaments, so it's not like it's going to be too confusing. That's the big one right there, the Triple Crown. It's a tragic situation at Sushi Aoki. I believe it was a motorcycle wreck that took his life. I think he's about my age. I'm 42, so I think he was about as old as, or roughly in that range. But he was their junior heavyweight champion at the time. And so they waited the full allotment of days they normally do for before vacating a title for a title defense. And they're trying to, show some respect his way. And then obviously with the start of the new year, they went ahead and brought the championship back with a tournament. There's a part of me that wants to start over and make my own company. So I hate following other people's directives, but I think there might be a better way. Although this is looking at options on YouTube. Of course, the problem is if I start a game as my own company, something brand new, it's not like the market is just flooded with available talent. And I know that in real life, WWE had that big list of cuts. But I don't know how effective that would be as a startup. So they're not. So we already got a show with them. but they're not interested in negotiating since we don't pass the requirements. And they've got to fix this click here thing where it doesn't look like the same color. Where you can't tell. I mean, it's a hyperlink. Unless you intentionally make it where you can't tell, and that's kind of being a jerk as a web designer. Oh, popularity. Well. I like that there's a large volume of information that you can reach in one convenient place. It's really stupid that they have a drug testing policy for people that aren't even employees that's done without cause even, or without reasonable suspicion. Or how WWE, if you test positive for marijuana, you have to pay a tax, a fee, which is just par for the course of that company. Although I guess you can, if I want to just test somebody, or they're available to me, it's just. I mean, it would be different if it were truly a competitive situation as far as who's going to win or lose a given match. And there have been enough drug overdose deaths through the years in wrestling. I get that side of it as well. But you wouldn't have guys having to take large quantities of painkillers and somas and the like, and lots of alcohol, if they weren't afraid for their spot they had to work injured. And that's what happens. You got these guys that you don't want to lose your spot. And to that end, it's a good thing, I suppose, that they have moved away from that direction. Or at least forced the wrestlers to, because of the testing. But at the same time, that's more a symptom of the company running their talent to the ground intentionally. The more you pay attention to WWE and wrestling in general, it goes beyond just WWE, but there can be a certain dehumanizing element to it as far as the presentation. Although that's the most I think of that with WWE. Flatten everybody, take away those emotional connections, and it's just characters that they only want you to care about at certain times, and not too much, or else they have to make a course correction. All right, let's see. I've been here yapping and looking this over. I don't know. I thought it was going to be a good idea to just take over all Japan, but I don't know if I want to do it that way. I guess I'm going to try one show, but now part of this is learning for me as far as what in the world is where broadcasters. Now, where's my list of shows? I mean, I've looked through a half dozen things on here. And for all I know, it's right in front of me. I'm just, missing it. So I don't want to come across as too surly. I've got an idea. I don't think I'm going to do it as All Japan. I think I'm going to open a promotion in Canada. I think I will enjoy that a lot more. I can't get past this first part here. There are guys on the roster and everything. There's a lot of talent in All Japan, but I can't even figure out what the. Okay, there's creative. I've already looked at this part. Maybe I can find the shows if I find the announcers. Of course, I would make myself the. I wonder if I had to speak the proper language to be on the commentary team. I don't know if Gary Wooder is fluent in Japanese. Skills, but again, it goes one line at a time with this. little more tenable on a screen like this. We've got fewer, but still. And even like when I'm rolling this along like this, I gotta wait and then stop it for it to pop up. I'm not wanting to dump on the game, don't get me wrong. Part of the thing, when I broadcast something, whether it's a sports event or something on here, the filter that normally is in place that keeps me from coming across as too much of a jerk kind of falls by the wayside. I can be super stiff, and I don't even mean to be. It just, I mean, when the way it works for me, almost like getting in a trance, get locked in, and go back later and listen to it, and half the stuff I said I don't remember saying. Which I know sounds kind of crazy, but that's just how it works for me. Fan appreciation night. It's like a minor league baseball schedule. I guess that's where they'll have the, or they were going to have the Aoki Memorial, but I don't know when promotions are going to start coming back in Japan. And I hate to talk about the pandemic because this is like a great escape from all the terrible stuff in real life that people might have to deal with, whether it's international pandemics or whatever. But I can't think of things in the current day context with reality if I don't take that into account, because that's changed everything. Let me see if I can at least get to like the first card. Drown in detail here. That's a good finance room. No, come on. Really? There's the 5,000 I got dinged to get our production up to proper standards. Let's see, where's the popularity? Let's see. There's just a wall of text, and my eyes hurt. And this is with one of the skins that makes this a little bit more palatable compared with the just vanilla version. Although to be fair, I haven't looked at what the final product was as far as the color scheme and the layout and whatnot. And please don't at any point think of me just dumping on this game, because this is so much fun and remarkable level of detail. People might ask, well, Lou, you're playing Fire Promoter years and years of that. Why would you stop and go to this? But the reality is this is going to let you get to that granular level of detail that just... I mean, I'm very pleased that they had Fire Promoter added to Fire Pro Wrestling World. It was an element of that series I never got to enjoy because I never played the Game Boy Advance. I was out of college by the time the Game Boy Advance came out. If not, it's close to there. Playing a portable video game. I'm working a serious job as a news producer. I mean, I guess I can do that, you know. I came to learn a long time ago. You're a lot better off not worrying about what other people think about you. If you're going after something that is of interest to you and is something that you care about, that you're passionate about. And let them goof all they want, you know, that's, so be it. You can imagine how much, I'm sure any wrestling fan can tell you the grief they've taken through the years over being a wrestling fan, especially because of how many people correlate pro wrestling with WWE, and that company is so weird. Such a strange company, run by a strange old man. All right. So on this screen here, okay. Oh, this is the list of potential television partners. Although I got the one that's already dropping me because that's not on this screen. That's... I contemplated playing through this and holding off on live streaming because I didn't want to be too negative, because I know when I take the filter off, I can just go off on somebody or something. Maybe not even realize I said it, even though I certainly felt it. Okay, this is interesting. This sort of information was available in 2016, but not in this. Let's see, this is the specifics. Nobody leaves until the final match is over? Well, this is worth looking at here, because some of this stuff, I think they had at least some of it in the past. In fact, I know they did have some of it in the past games, but not this particular layout. So the backstage rating. Alright. Well, at least we got the official All Japan bus to go from town to town. A dirty doctor is backstage. I like the quotes around dirty. I like the way they pretend that nicotine and alcohol aren't drugs. A masseuse is provided. That sounds like a role Bill Watts would have brought into WCW and then just made everybody mad about. Okay, so there's some different rules. And this information was available in 2016 as far as like relationships and all, but some of the stuff you have to find on different pages. So this may be a little bit better organized than what it was. I'm looking for my company. The one I want's not on here, unless they're down at the bottom or something. Oh no, here we are, okay. Getting full hot over it. I just want the list of their shows. This should not be that difficult. The company that I'm running, I want to see the shows that I'm running and what days and, you know, what channel and all that. How can I plan anything out if I don't know that? How can I find this in this wall of blue dots down here? Finance. Nope, not here. Already looked here. Now, this is interesting. This is similar to the roster overview that they had in 2016, only this has more information. As you can tell, this, if you played many of the prior games in this series, this is a wider box than you typically would see. And so thus you can fit more information on there without having to squeeze it on there in tiny font that would be counterproductive because people couldn't read it anyway. It's kind of weird to see Red Hot written in green, but I get the idea. That matches my normal train of thought. It's just funny seeing it that way. And not that it's Ishikawa, because that guy's excellent. Not that I have to tell him, major star. And this should be helpful as far as the contracts, because I think when I was playing through the Thunderverse with 2016, pull this screen up and I wouldn't know which guys were on just for however many dates I want to book them between now and the end of whenever the agreed upon term was, whether it's 3 months or 6 months or whatever. But it's important because you need to know the difference in that case between people you can book as many times as you want or people you've got like 2 or 3 more times you can book them and they're really popular maybe in one region or another. And so it helps to be able to plan that out. Otherwise, you're going to be burning through stuff. Be acting like WWE was with Brock Lesnar. He's burning through his dates. And find out, oh, wait. Because you have no discipline as a company, you not to pay him even more money to book him. Alright, so this is the screen we saw before that had the Gaora Sports. So the minimum quality is 24. That's the minimum popularity. I'm still on this quest to find the list of shows. It should not be this difficult. I'm certainly acutely aware of how the touring system works, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the television product. Maybe this will show me. But this doesn't tell me what shows correlate, if at all, to what television programs. Here we go, the popularity. We got the red X here. Well, that's nice to see. No downside agreements on a handshake deal. That was one thing I found annoying with 2016 and earlier iterations as well. So I'm bringing somebody in saying, look, I'll pay you $300 a pop for the next year, or somebody that's still learning the business, whatever. I shouldn't have to guarantee them $200 a month to get them for the $300 per. But that was just part of the game, and you had to do it that way if you wanted to book them. And not booking them was not a viable option. That's the way I saw it anyway. I like the way this does explain pretty well about how it works with the different base regions. Spillover, I imagine it's similar to what. Okay, it's on a page behind this one. A little tough to tell. That's where we see the influences from region to region. You see more of the U.S. I wasn't trying to make it pop up that quickly, but it did. Having to randomly click on things because I don't know what's a hyperlink and what's not. And I know I'm not the first person to complain about this either, so I've read and heard some of the early things. Overall, a great game, so please keep that in mind. I know that the development crew worked very hard on this, and I know they're going to be doing things. They are doing things to make it even better. And there's certain things you're not going to find out that are problems that until it actually gets out there. Look, I'm old enough where I had Excitebike for the NES, where it had this create a board thing, but there wasn't a battery in the game like it should have had, and so you couldn't save it. There was a power flicker, or it's got to turn it off at some point. You don't leave your Nintendo running indefinitely. So look, it could be worse. Those day zero patches you get now, but that's part of the business. And this is different anyway, though, because this, Grey Dog does. This is not just some cookie cutter thing. So please, if the crew hears me saying this, please don't take it as a slight. Because again, when I'm doing the broadcasting thing, the whole empathy, or at least trying to shield people from being too harsh, kind of goes away because I'm so hyper focused on what I'm talking about, concentrating. Like with a football game, an American football game, 22 players on the field at any particular point. A lot to keep track of. I already looked here anyway. Looks creative. What's show history? All shows. Okay, that did me zero good. how can I book a television show or plan out a series of television shows if you can't find a list of the television shows? And again, maybe I'm overlooking something here. Maybe it's over here in this list of icons. Well, this is where we have different like alliances or co-owned companies in that case. Is that the real term for it? IWGP Conception? Whatever the loose collection is between New Japan, CMLL, Ring of Honor, Rev Pro, I guess Stardom as well. I think the way that the male and female split is in Japan is actually a better business model for the long term. I think it's better for women's wrestling altogether. A lot more spots that way versus it's almost like the novelty side act, and from time to time maybe we'll put them in the main event to pander, give something for Stephanie McMahon to talk about the next time she's hitting the circuit. And anyway, not to go off on that, because it can be done well also if you have promotion that, like what AEW seems to be trying to do with its women's division. Starting to agitate me. This is I feel like I'm going in a circle here. It's teams. That's similar to what they had in 2016 as far as the list. I already looked at this page though. Okay, how do I get just the main page? How can I advance a day if I don't know if it's going to be a TV show tonight? Still haven't changed this layout here, the skin for it. I wonder why that would be the one thing listed in there about Fucci and his contract coming up in 10 months and 1 week. Why is that one there by itself? Does nobody else have a contract? That's a handshake deal nonsense? I wonder how they decided what order to use for these wrestlers, knowing that people, no matter what decision was made, there would be people that would second guess it. Like Lethal over Ibushi. I like Jay Lethal, don't get me wrong. Talented guy. Okay. So the office, the desk is a helpful place to go here. Product. Maybe this is what I was looking for. No, I already saw this before. Like the promises. That's just a remarkable level of detail you can get to in this game. And some of this I think is new as far as the breakdown by worker. And that's actually some valuable information, at least potentially. It's like an indice of sorts of people voting with their wallets, as it were, as far as the most popular, or at least with the merch that's the most popular. And typically there's a direct correlation. Not always. Like with the Rusev Day shirt. Broadcasting and events. Okay, there's just events. Okay, well, so Asano is the announcer, and Fucci does color commentary. Always have the play-by-play person first. That's the way I always tend to think of it. There's no hard and fast rule on that. But that's typically because the person that's play-by-play is the person that's throwing a break. That's your anchor, essentially. The funny thing for me was working in years in TV news. I was behind the scenes. I was the producer. I was the guy telling people twice my age what to do. Which is in a lot of ways counter to my personality, because I really don't like bossing people around telling them what to do, because I hate that being done to me. But when there's a reason for it, at least, it certainly makes it easier. Target AEW dirty tricks. Let's see. The wrestling media. Verbal jabs. Sponsor attack. Contact their sponsors and leave anonymous negative rumors about them. Create and distribute signs that mock or insult them. Oh, that's tremendous. I still have not found a definitive answer about television. I feel like I'm running in a circle here. I run through the deck a few times. I'm pre-booking. Maybe this will do it. It's just showing the shows, though. That's not television. Calendar. No. The wall of text. I gotta say, as much as I appreciate there being a quick way to find a lot of information at once, I don't see this current interface as an upgrade from 2016. And again, I know 2016, I've used it, many hours spent in that game. This is new. I don't know where stuff is yet. Maybe that's just takes a little time to figure it out. But and I know all Japan's a little bit different the way they do television compared to how Western audiences might generally think of it. But this isn't about television philosophy. This is about where is the television. I mean, I know I can look up and say, okay, business, and find. We get details like this, the ticket prices and how popularity ranges. Oh, I guess it decides it for you, which is good. That's a level of nuance I don't want in a game. I'm gonna get down to to the dollar on how much to have a ticket cost in a given range. Just gotta delegate, pal. So that I approve of. Let's see, who can I book? Well, off duty. Turn off all days. No. If I exit out, that's not gonna remember right. Okay, what happened to the one we're gonna have tonight? Did I just erase the one we were gonna have? Am I wrong about this? No, it's January. Okay. It's gonna annoy me every time I try and click down expecting a full page to cycle through. It doesn't do that. I gotta go and find the mouse. We got this many lines, a little sliver, and it doesn't scroll, so I gotta wait and find the sliver again. Hope I can pick it up and not have it go too far. trying to be positive here. This stuff's starting to piss me off. All right. Clicked on finance a half dozen times. I like how the momentum is listed there as a neutral or positive, negative. Seems to be a little bit more clear about that compared with past iterations of the game. Who's actually under a contract here? My 66-year-old color commentator? That's it? Okay, this might not be the right fit. But I'm going to get to at least one show because I'm going to be mad if I don't at least do that. So I'm going to skip ahead a day or go to tonight or whatever. And somebody else can handle television. And I'll make for sure, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart this. Okay. I want to take a look at how booking goes. Oh, there's a backstage incident. Some of the stuff I was wanting to check out. Just didn't want to rush into it, but... This one where it could be something positive or it could be something negative. Let's see. Being obnoxious. Look, pal, you get your ass kicked by my color commentator who's 66 years old. I mean, look, if this were a Watts territory, you wouldn't have to ask. You just know, hit the bricks. So this is different from the personality and the morale, which is more realistic because not everyone is going to respond the same to a given motivation, or whether it's a positive or negative, the stick or the carrot. For some people, negative reinforcement or the fear of it is a strong motivating factor. I always hated that with like high school sports because that's not the way to motivate me. Being all negative or insulting or whatever. It's just like, no, you're just feeling my desire to undermine you when you do that. But that's me. I've got a way of getting heat myself, but you can't live to try and placate other people. Life's too short. I got too many friends that have already passed. I'm gonna have to get all deep and sad about it, but okay. So there's mercenary, morale, gloomy. Viewing the profile. Okay, so there's Fuji, age 66. Okay, Watt is 65. Oh, that's... I guess this is who was doing play-by-play. It's in the past tense. Actually quite convenient if I'm going to take the spot. Oh, this is going to make me so angry. I'm going to click down every time on this. Let's see. Okay, colors 52 to 60. Clearly not the announcer. I was going to fire the other guy, this Wada. He's good at he's not any good at color. Oh, he's just a road agent. Oh, he's a referee. Oh, okay. Well, that's not any good. So my color commentator, my 66-year-old color commentator, beat up the referee. Slap on the wrist. A negative impact? I was thinking about firing him just to see what would happen. Oh. This is not going to be tenable. All right. Absent workers. Meddling's a fun thing to do. Some unusual pairings and see what happens. I like the way it's personality based, the meddling. Before it was just kind of a random. Sometimes I take somebody that is like one of my stars and established under contract guys in the promotion. So I've got a limited run on, try to make them friends, making them the person with the expiring contract want to stick around, or maybe sign an exclusive deal. How about Dory Funk Jr. and Zeus, but not the Zeus from No Holds Barred? Nothing. Okay, how do I book a match? Oh, the broadcaster. I gotta set that. I guess we can finally figure out where the television shows are. Good grief. Okay. This is actually probably reflective of real life as far as the All Japan streaming service. Although I don't think it's branded Fighting TV Samurai. I could be wrong though. It just doesn't. I guess that's why you got the tiny coverage everywhere, nearly everywhere. Because of people like me that actually had the All Japan streaming service for a little while. So here's the thing, am I doing this for All Japan TV or am I doing this for Fighting Samurai? And automatic selection wasn't going to tell me. Broadcasters. So is this an event? Do they quantify Night 7 of the 2020 All Japan Super Power Series as an event? With no special importance. Unbranded. Okay, normal event. Build my image first before I can give the Paul Heyman and ECW style rah promo. Okay, you know what? I'm done. I'm not gonna do this. This is very progressively angrier. How do I know what show to put it on if you're not gonna tell me what the shows are? Is it an event? Is it one that I want to put on TV, or is it not one that I want to? So, okay, not maybe the best way to start off with this series. Well, look, I'm going to tell it to you honest. I saw it a long time ago. Look, there's two ways you can go about it. You can be as diplomatic and careful as possible, trying not to make anybody angry. Or you can be as accurate as possible, even though you know it's probably going to make some people mad. And, I don't know. I don't mind having heat on me when I believe I'm in the right. And I know in the right, not in the right, whatever. This interface, this is not. I had hoped I was going to find something here that was going to be better than what I'd heard other people complain about, but you can already see. I'm done with it. I'm not going to do this All Japan one for now. So, all right. Well, after one episode, the host walked off the set. I'll figure something else out with this. I'll start again. I'm going to do one as my own company. I think I'll be a lot happier with that. Much like real life, anyway. So, although I'll be complaining about not being able to find the listings there either. But again, this is the brand new layout that I'm not used to, and there's a natural inclination for humans to resist change. Thus is the power of the status quo. All right, so I'm not going to book this show because I'm not going to go through this process. Even if I wanted to right now, like, then why have it if there's an option if I can't use it? Why is that still lit up? All right. Well, I may do another one tonight. That's don't want to end on this. So episode 1. This is quite the inauspicious start. But no, I guess this wasn't going to work anyway. So I wanted to change things to fit the way I do them in real life. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm really wasting my time. All right. So that's going to be it for episode 1. Wow. I mean, how long has this been going here? Is this 2 hours? Closing on it? I can't even find this on my screen. I've got like 5 things I've scooted over to the side to make room for this. See where... Alright. Okay, well, before I get even more flustered for no good reason, we'll stop here and see if I can figure this out a little bit, and then episode 2, I'll show you how I'll build the company, as opposed to inheriting one where things can't be figured out and you got handshake deals with your superstars. Because I would have a tough time dealing with that. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. And I don't mean to sound so negative on the end, but that's how I feel. It's just frustrating the hell out of me. But I also got really frustrated the first time around with Super Mega Baseball 3. But I was able to get a refund on the Steam version, played it for the PlayStation 4, and loved it. So sometimes it's a matter of finding things and making them work for you. So. Oh, there's a click here. Let's rename it. We can at least pull up the main screen. With 2016, there's the thing that lets you book it very easily. Okay, I've had it with this interface. I'm over it. Part of the problem is I like keep talking and verbalizing things that normally I wouldn't complain about, but it's just, again, I was either going to be honest or I was going to try not to hurt anybody's feelings, and I'm more inclined for the former. Because at least with that, you know where somebody's coming from. I would much rather somebody tell me some unpleasant truths than to sit there and either lie to me or just intentionally not, let me know something, or think they're sparing my feelings when in fact they're just making things worse because they're insulting my intelligence, thinking I'm not going to figure it out. And unfortunately, I do speak from experience with that. All right. On that note, that's it for episode 1. Hopefully we'll have a much more pleasant episode 2 whenever that comes back around. So thanks for watching. This has been Lou Pickney Plays Total Extreme Wrestling 2020, episode number 1.